Today, we're going to take a look at one of the craziest arm wrestling matches I've ever seen. A lot of things had to line up perfectly in order for this match to be as ugly and chaotic as it was. This match is a combination of two opposite polars, one being a very technically proficient arm wrestler in Giannis Amelins. Giannis is one of the all-time greats of the sport. He can pull using any technique, he can be explosive, he can win in wars, he can do whatever he wants on the table. He's the guy you show footage of to a brand new arm wrestler who wants to have perfect technique. And then we introduce the antagonist of the story, Joseph LeVay. Joseph is basically a human firecracker that blasted 10,000 milligrams of caffeine. He has some unorthodox technique to say the least. He's probably the most awkwardly violent puller to go up against in his weight category. Arm wrestling Joseph is like trying to be a professional bull rider. Even if you don't get thrown off, you still have chronic back pain for decades. Conversely, even if you manage to win against Joseph, you still lose. And of course, any match that would have been already crazy is just even better whenever it happens at WAL. This fight is a WAL prelim match from 2016. Now, unfortunately, Bart Woods is not reffing this match, so it's not quite as perfect as it could have been, but it's close enough. Upon the first go of the match, we see the calm, cool, and collected Giannis Amelins bend his wrist while maintaining pronation in something in between a low hand top roll and a high hook lane. He begins to go sideways, and then it happens. Joseph lets out the death scream. Now, any smidge of peace that existed before is long gone. Joseph begins to implement both the greatest and worst technique in history at the same time. Joseph is a hitter. He's hitting regardless of what position he's in, and regardless of whether or not it's helping him. If he's in a hook, he's hitting. If he's totally stretched out in a king's move, that's okay. He'll just drop down so far beneath the table that he can hit from there too. You can see that Giannis is getting more and more annoyed with Joseph's chaotic technique as time goes on. One thing I find extremely funny is watching the cameraman try to get a shot of Joseph. As soon as they get a close-up, he just disappears entirely underneath the table. But it's fine, because he'll be back in a second. Eventually, Joseph does start to gas out and can't keep hitting as violently as he was. Giannis finds a balance point, begins to climb and adjust, and eventually takes full hand control. But even from this point, Joseph is still fighting. When Giannis is finally able to finish this match, he just barely dips Joseph's hand below the pad for a split second, because even from that super advantageous position, Joseph rolls back out into a king's move and cracks Giannis's wrist back. Nonetheless, the win still is counted. But Giannis doesn't even look happy after this win. If anything, he has more stress and less hair than he did before the match. It's just like eating a salad. Initially, you try to convince yourself that eating the salad will be good for you. It'll make you feel better after eating grease fire dumpster food every day for the last 2 weeks. But once you finally get the thing down, you're not proud of yourself. You're just glad that it's finally over. And that is the Joseph LeVay effect. Giannis was not having fun here. He was just doing his very best to not explode on TV. In the end, this match pretty much came down to the battle of rotation. But the battle of rotation is far different on WAL pads and rules. Normally, whoever has the stronger pronator will probably win the battle of rotation. But at WAL, even if your opponent has turned you completely palm up, you can get your rotation right back by simply rotating your entire body by dropping down to Antarctica for a second and then popping right back up. Assuming you remembered your snorkel, that is. And that is the main thing Giannis had to work so hard to overcome in this match. He didn't just have to win rotation, he had to win it by such a high degree that he would nullify the King's move in the process. And that is no easy task at WAL, where the King's move is just built different. But in the end, we see that Giannis' technical proficiency does get him the win. He had to adapt on the fly a bit, and he probably didn't win in the lane he wanted to, but he still got the win. And if this sounds like I'm hating on Joseph, don't worry. He's actually one of my favorite pullers to watch. His technique, while horrifying and terrible, is also awesome. Because it's terrible. Let me know in the comments if you agree that this is one of the most chaotic matches in history. If not, let me know which matches you think are even crazier. Probably half of them are Joseph LeVay matches anyway.